Thank you everyone for joining us today. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. Today's event is being recorded and will be available on our ITRC, Blink, and EDI websites after 72 hours. ASL interpreters and closed captioning are available. To view our ASL interpreter, please go to your view icon and select side-by-side gallery view. As this is a virtual event on Zoom, it's possible we may experience a glitch or two, but we're here with you all the way. Thank you in advance for your understanding. Lastly, in the event you are inadvertently disconnected from today's webinar, please use your same Zoom registration link to reconnect. At this time, I would like to introduce Alexandria Hunter. Alexandria is Kumeyaay and Luiseño, a member of the Jamul Indian Village and a UC San Diego Native American graduate student in the Department of Education Studies. Alexandria will provide a blessing to open our event today.
Thank you, Elena. Haukatipe jam, Alexandria shi, nyapum humukupai, and ya kwar hilikuhipi. Maha wachan, kwame hiai wachan, tike. Iyehan matpil, nyupum iyehan jamishpil. Nip mat maha pusho, nyupum maha tike, kepsho maha ajpe. Inya akukui kulisau jamish tom, nyupum kulisau shamu tomim. Nyupum ni mahar jamishpil, tomim ahuhan. Inya akukui kulisau unyau pil, puknachis jamish ter chechachan pil. The land where the university sits is a sacred place to the Kumeyaay and other tribes of the area. Maikha is the word for creator in the Kumeyaay language. It translates to the water above. This word is often used as it shows the importance of the relationship to the creator and the sacred role water has in the lives of the Ipai Tipai people who still nurture this relationship. It is important to remember, as this place is intertwined with the people, the life-giving ocean, and the ancestors who still speak to us. What I asked for is the Creator to give us all a good way to see, so that we may move forward and work together in a good way. Universities and Indigenous people still need help in working together. That way is only for the truth to be known and to be taught. Iyayachan.
Representative Deb Holland is a member of the Laguna Pueblo and, along with Sharice Davids, one of the first two Native American women elected to U.S. Congress. We asked Representative Holland to address young Native college students and our attendees today for the Native American Heritage Month Kickoff celebration.
Hello, everybody. My name is Deb Holland. I'm a proud member of Laguna Pueblo and Congresswoman for New Mexico's 1st Congressional District. Thank you for the opportunity to share a few words at the Native American Heritage Month Celebration Luncheon. A room full of Native youth, academics, and future leaders inspire all of us to keep working for the future of our communities. We know that when young Indigenous people have access to higher education, change is possible because they move into positions where they can have a seat at the decision-making table. Improving access to higher education for me means that every student should be able to attend college without financial barriers and burdens after graduation. That's why I have supported and continue to fight for debt-free college education. With the support of the federal government and higher education, like the Pell Grant and bills we've introduced to make college debt-free, students will be able to achieve their goals without having to worry about crippling debt. Native American Heritage Month is a time to celebrate the significant contributions the first Americans made to our country. November is a time to celebrate our languages, vibrant cultures, and traditions. It's also a time to acknowledge the tragedies our communities were subjected to throughout American history. Although faced with many challenges and injustice, Indigenous people are resilient. UC San Diego, like every other place in this country, is on Native land, and I hope you're taking leadership positions, challenging the system, and moving your communities forward. This is a reflection on the history of conflicts at the use and ownership of Native lands that Native Americans have endured throughout history. It's my goal to fight for Native sovereignty. I'm happy that you all are celebrating Native American Heritage Month with me. Please remember that I believe in each and every one of you, and I'm excited to see the work you all will do that will benefit your people and communities well into the future. Be fierce.
Powerful words from Congresswoman Holland, who is now one of 6 Native American representatives in Congress. Next, we'd like to introduce you to our UCSD royalty. Every spring, UC San Diego's Native American Student Alliance, the Intertribal Resource Center, and our other Native American student organizations host an annual powwow. A powwow is a social gathering celebrating Native American cultures and traditions, featuring Native song, dance, drums, art, and food. We offer young powwow dancers an opportunity to apply for the role of the UCSD Powwow Princess. The Powwow Princess serves as a university ambassador and promotes our school and our powwow throughout Indian country. Our current Powwow Princess is Taylor Begay. Taylor is a member of the Dene Nation and is studying film, television, and media arts at Southwestern College. She is very active in the community, serving on the San Diego American Indian Health Youth Council, participating in the American Indian Recruitment Program, and serving as a mentor for the Soaring Eagles Powwow Dance Organization. I'm proud to introduce you to our UCSD Powwow Princess, Taylor Begay.
Yat shike doshidane, Taylor Begay nisha, Ultan nishle, Adone nishin gi Kintlachini nishle, Biba 20 bushes chinas ejidashache, Tobahadashanale. Hello everyone, my name is Taylor Begay. I am 21 years old and a member of the Dene Nation. I currently reside here in San Diego, California, and I am proud and honored to be invited here and represent as your 2019-2021 UCSD Powwow Princess. This year we have faced many hardships, and as Native Americans who are used to gatherings and traditional ceremonies, we have to put those on hold. Although we cannot physically meet, I am grateful for today's technology as we are able to gather here today and celebrate the 14th annual Native American Heritage Month celebration. I would like to thank the UCSD Intertribal Resource Center, Dr. Elena Hood, and her wonderful staff for allowing me this opportunity of welcoming you all here today. Thank you. Ahiyahet.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome everybody. I'm Pradeep Khosla, Chancellor of UC San Diego. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the kickoff celebration for the 14th annual Native American Heritage Month at UC San Diego. Due to the pandemic, this event and all events throughout this month will be held in virtual spaces. I encourage all of our staff to attend as many of these events as possible throughout the month. The UC San Diego community holds great respect for the land and the original people of the area where our campus is located. The university is built on the unceded territory of the Kumeyaay Nation. Today, the Kumeyaay people continue to maintain their political sovereignty and cultural traditions as vital members of the San Diego community. We acknowledge their tremendous contributions to our region, and we thank them for their stewardship. It's election week. A record number of Native Americans were elected to Congress, bringing the total to 6. And may I say evenly divided amongst 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats. The two new members of Congress, one from New Mexico and the other one from Hawaii. I'd also like to recognize 4 of our Native American faculty at UC San Diego, Dr. Teresa Ambo from Education Studies, Dr. Andrew Jolivet from Ethnic Studies, Dr. Keolu Fox from Anthropology, and Dr. Sarah Aarons from Scripps Institution of Oceanography. UC San Diego School of Medicine offered admission to 7 Native American students this year, and 5 matriculated, the highest number ever. Our undergraduate numbers are up as well. This year we enrolled 51 Native American students. That's a 28% increase from 2016 to 2020. We also saw an increase in the number of Native Americans who accepted offers as Chancellor's Associate Scholars. These are scholarships that allow you nearly a loan-free 2 or 4-year education, depending on if you're coming from community college or from 12th grade. So we are right now up to 22 Native American scholars this year, up from 13 the previous year. Over the past 5 years, we've made strides in increasing our investments and our progress in equity, diversity, and inclusion. We will continue to make progress across all parts of our community, guided by our campus-level strategic plan and our strategic plan for inclusive excellence. We have taken bold actions in creating our equity, diversity, and inclusion initiatives and programs to ensure that our EDI goals are a part of everything we do on a daily basis. We will continue to actively track our efforts as well. Our goal is to cultivate a learning and working environment at UC San Diego that is diverse, that is equitable, and that is inclusive. We are creating a community where everyone feels valued and has the resources to learn, grow, and thrive. So thank you for being here today and every day to contribute to this goal. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Elena Hood, who is the director of our Intertribal Resource Center and the moderator for today's kickoff event. Elena is absentee Shawnee, Choctaw, and Luiseno from the Pama Band of Luiseno Indians and is the inaugural director of the UC San Diego Intertribal Resource Center. She earned her bachelor's degree at UC Berkeley, her master's at Harvard, and completed her doctorate degree here at UC San Diego. Elena has 25 years of experience working in the field of Indian education and serving Native American communities. So with that said, welcome, Dr. Hood. On to you.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Khosla. Miyuyam Cho'onam. I'm very happy to welcome you to the 14th annual Native American Heritage Month Kickoff Celebration. This is the first virtual campus-wide cultural celebration, and we are incredibly honored to have you joining us. We have an exciting program planned for you today, as well as a full calendar of cultural, educational, and social events throughout Native American Heritage Month. At this time, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Evan Adams. Dr. Adams is a Coast Salish actor and physician from the Tla'amin First Nation in British Columbia, Canada. Dr. Adams stars as everyone's favorite storyteller, Thomas Builds the Fire, in Chris Ayres' classic native film, Smoke Signals, which we will be screening later this evening, featuring a Q&A with Dr. Adams, and you don't want to miss that. Dr. Adams has won 2 Best Actor awards, one from the American Indian Film Festival and another from the First Americans in the Arts. He also won an Independent Spirit Award for Best Debut Performance and a Gemini Award for co-hosting the National Aboriginal Achievement Awards. Aside from his career in the arts, Dr. Adams completed an MD from the University of Calgary and a Master's of Public Health from Johns Hopkins University. He was the first ever Aboriginal Health Physician Advisor for the British Columbia Ministry of Health. Dr. Adams is currently the Chief Medical Officer of the First Nations Health Authority and a superstar in Indian country. Please welcome Dr. Evan Adams.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Hood, and hello, cousins out there. It's such an honor to be here on such an austere occasion. And thank you to Corinne and Maddie and Drs. Hood and Fox and many others who've invited me to be here. And before I forget, hey, Victor, I'm sorry about your dad. I had to say that because I always forget. I'm sometimes known as that guy who played Thomas in Smoke Signals. Boy, there are a lot worse things to be remembered for, but I'm also a doctor here in Canada. I'm a public health doctor, and I help look after Indigenous populations and have done so for about 13 years now in this particular role as a medical officer. And I'm so happy to be a part of today and to give you a few minutes. And I look forward to tonight when you can see the film. For those of you who haven't seen it, I can't believe I did this film 23 years ago. That's absolutely crazy. And I don't know, Chancellor Khosla, if you'll be there, but that would be amazing. And thank you so much for your work and for supporting your 22 Native American scholars. Thank you for honoring and recognizing Kumeyaay territory. I think that's absolutely wonderful and essential. I'm speaking to you from Tla'amin Nation, where I am a member, where I grew up, and where I've moved back to in the time of COVID. Even though I work for our nation's capital in Ottawa, I can work from my own home territory, and that is a lovely gift. And I'm just recognizing that some of you have had to leave your home territories for various reasons. And maybe some of you are still there. Perhaps in this time of COVID, it's hard for you to attend classes. Whatever the situation, I hope you will remember your beautiful, beautiful territories. They are lovely places. So if we could go to the next slide, that would be wonderful. And I just want to leave a couple of ideas with you today in the 12 minutes or so I have left with you. It's about two-eyed seeing. I was told since I was very young that Native people are so adaptable. It's traditional, it's how we're made, and we live in two worlds. There's absolutely no shame in that, even though we sometimes tease each other about it. And my father knew from an early age that I could read a book and remember it. And he saw that I was hopelessly unathletic, but he said, that's okay. Everyone is needed. You know, my sister, my eldest sister, is very kind, and she works in health and with children. And my dad saw that, and he said, you know, that is needed. And I have another sister who's really bossy, and we were told she'll be good for a business, and she, you know, we need her, even if she's not good at other things, and so on and so on. Let's go to the next slide. So this concept of two-eyed seeing asks us to remember that the land has not always been the way it is, that the United States and Canada and the Americas have very deep indigenous roots. And this is just a reminder to you that huge parts of our continent still have large proportions of indigenous people. We never left. We've always been here. And it's funny, sometimes we're not taught that. And here, definitely here in Canada, we're asking universities to teach more about Native American peoples, particularly for learners who come from other places and don't know our countries or these particular situations. Next slide. This is where I'm from. This is the northwest corner of Washington State and the southwest corner of Canada. I'm part of the Coast Salish speaking peoples. We number about, I think we must be over 60,000 people from many, many villages. In my territory, Coast Salish people have over 50 villages. Sorry, in my side of the border, we have over 50 Coast Salish speaking villages, and I don't even know how many there are on the American side. And that line stands between us, that border stands between us, but I just want to recognize that, hey, maybe we're related. Next slide. I came from a place like many of you. Of course, probably some of you are not as old as I am. This is a picture from the 60s of me and my 4 sisters, all older, and my parents. We grew up as poor as anyone, but I think of myself as being rich. My father was very traditional. He was raised by his grandmother, and he was very clear about teaching me what I needed to know. He didn't say, this is what you need to know as an Indigenous boy. He said, this is what you need to know. You live in a beautiful place. There are lots of deer and lots of berries and things to eat. There are lots of beautiful places to warm your spirit. There are lots of places where people used to live that are your family. And he would just teach me. And my mother was very school learned, and I think they needed each other because my mother could read and write, and she was very studious. But my father was very traditional, and he didn't raise me with a gentle hand as his only son. He said, "You must be strong. You must. That is our way." Next slide. And as I said, we were very clear that we lived in 2 places at once. And I just want to liken it to having two different eyes that in medicine we call this binocular vision, two eyes looking in different directions and uniting into a single vision. And this is quite advantageous. It gives you a wider field of vision. It gives you greater depth of perception. And it's really good if you lose one of your eyes. Just a little joke there. Next slide. But our way, and I'm sure that many of you who grew up in our territories and in our families, we are asked to look inward all the time. Our ways are very spiritual. We're asked to hear our own voice, to chart our own path, to look inwards for resilience, for light, for laughter, and for happiness. And I tell people this because that's our teaching. I remember with one of my sons, he liked to sleep in, and our way is not to let boys who are the size of men sleep in and be lazy. And I was fighting with my son, trying to get him up on the weekends. And I said to my dad, I want to just let him be because I don't like who I am when I'm yelling at him. And he said, no, our way is our way. Boys don't sleep in. Use water. So, and I remember the part of our way is our way. You have to learn it. You don't get to make it up. And so I tell people our teachings and remind people that looking inward and seeing your strength. And my dad saying, you should be able to withstand some heartbreak and some hunger and some tiredness. That's life. Next slide. So I just love this idea of two-eyed seeing, an indigenous viewpoint, a Western viewpoint, and you can have excellence in both. Next slide. And this is a painting of the death of Captain James Cook in 1779 when he tried to kidnap Kapuna, an elder, to force local Hawaiians, local indigenous people, to do as he saw fit, to force them to help him. And he died. And aboard this ship, aboard Captain Cook's ship, was a man named George Vancouver, who eventually became a captain himself. Next slide. And about 13 years later, this new Captain Vancouver came to Cortes Island. This is my mother's village. And a drawing that was done in 1792 of my mother's village. Next slide. And this is my great-grandfather. His name was Tla'amin, Charlie Adams. He was born in 1860, and in 1862 he was caught in a smallpox epidemic that blinded him. And so he was a baby when he was blinded by smallpox. Smallpox used to kill about a third of people and blind about 5 to 10% of them. And our stories are about how he would, as a blind man, he was a woodcutter. He would cut wood in the forest and sell. His daughters would sell that wood by the side of the road. And so born in 1860, my great-grandfather Tla'amin was born before the formation of Canada. Next slide. So my history is very real. And so when there are comics like this one, the radio saying non-white babies now outnumber white babies in America for the first time, and the elder says second, we can laugh. We can hold two realities at once. Next slide. So here I am. I became a Western trained doctor. I started training as a doctor around the time that smoke signals came out. For those of you who don't know smoke signals, it was, I think it's one of the only depictions of kind of modern indigenous life, and I was so lucky to have been in it. I didn't think very many people would see it, but a lot of Indians saw that movie, and I remember being on the wards, and I didn't see any of that hoopla around the film, maybe just a little bit of it. But I remember one Native American woman giving birth, and her telling me later on how shocked she was. how she was trying to deliver a baby, and she looked between her legs, and there was Thomas Builds the Fire. She had no idea that I was a doctor. She thought I was a character in a movie. Next slide. I think helping people is very traditional. I like to say I am in service of our people. And this is the world that I discovered when I was in university. And this is just, of course, a cartoon depiction. Kaipo, you're Hawaiian. What do you think of Hawaiian issues? It's not that I'm Hawaiian, I'm Native American or First Nations. It's just that very often I would be in circles where there weren't a lot of Native people, and I'd be asked to speak about Native American issues. It was a position of leadership. And so those of you who are in training now, it's not just about getting skills in order to do your trade or profession. It is about taking a leadership role. And as an actor, I know that when you have a role, you must do it with all your heart. So I hope all of you, your heart is in it, and that you are pushing hard, you're praying, and you're doing all you can to be as good as you can be in the role that you've chosen. Next slide. And what I learned was that my Western training was not enough. When I went to see my people to try and help them be better, giving them pills was not the only thing I could do. If you ask people what keeps them well, they'll tell you beauty, fairness, love, family, opportunity. They'll tell you lots of things that will make them well. And hopefully you will bring your great humanity with you to do that. Next slide. And this is a representation of a physician leader whom I met, who came at me at a physician leadership meeting and said, you know what Indians need to do? And she proceeded to be very aggressive and tell me, school me basically about Indians and what Indians must do. And I don't tolerate that. And I pushed back, and all the doctors around us were so nervous that we were having words. Next slide. So basically, I had an unsafe situation. I felt like I was being diminished or demeaned because of where I was from. And this must never happen. We should never be shamed for who we are or where we're from. Next slide. And in fact, we ask for cultural humility from those around us, maybe from our universities, maybe from our professors or our faculty or our friends. Cultural humility is about a lifelong process of self-reflection, self-critique, really just understanding where you're working from. The example we always give is of a nurse, perhaps, who's busy, she must do her job, but maybe someone is sick, an elder, and the family wants her, the nurse or him, to not be noisy, and for the nurse to say, oh, I'm trying to do my work, but I understand this family has need, and it's okay, I can be quiet, I don't have to fight with the family, I can accept this situation. Next slide. So really, cultural humility is respect for all, and I wish that for all of you. 15 minutes is up. Next slide. Really, education for me is about getting the milk and not the horns, if that makes any sense to you at all. I hope in your training you're getting wonderful things and not terrible things. Next slide. When I was a trainee, I had an elder whom I loved very much, and I was looking after her. And she had a terrible heart rhythm, and I had to monitor her. There wasn't even, it's such a small village that we only had a crash cart, but not a heart monitor. So I had to sit by her, and if her heart rate changed, I could, try and resuscitate her. And she got better all by herself. And her family thanked me later. They said, you saved our grandmother. And I said, no, I didn't do anything. She got better by herself. And they said, no, she didn't want to die on your watch and scare you to death in the midst of your training. And she reminded me that you're not going for a diploma or a bunch of letters after your name. You are going so that you can be an extraordinary human being like our ancestors. Next slide. And I just want you to fly in a different way if you need to get where you need to be. And this is an example of an eagle flying in a different way. I showed my elder. She said, "Oh, that's an eagle that's about to mate." And I said, "Oh, that's not what I was trying to portray." She said, "Yeah, that's a sexy eagle." So be the change, be the sexy eagle. Thank you very much. Good luck to all of you.
Nice. Thank you so very much, Dr. Adams. We really appreciate you sharing your healing words with us. And we're very much looking forward to talking to you more at tonight's screening. So I don't know about the rest of you, but sitting on Zoom for hours every day has made my flat Indian booty even flatter than a greasy piece of fry bread, which is why it's important that we keep the blood flowing and the energy level up. So with that in mind, I'm excited to introduce you to Sam Mitchell, a member of the Texas Band of Yaqui Indians and a doctoral candidate in theater and dance here at UCSD. Sam was recently awarded the prestigious honor of Directing Fellow at the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis, and today we are lucky to have him joining us to lead us through a brief movement break. You're going to want to get up on your feet at this time. I promise you'll be glad that you did. Please welcome Sam Mitchell.
Hi there, Sam Aros Mitchell. I'm zooming in from Minneapolis. This is Dakota Sioux territory. I want to acknowledge that. I just wanted to say thanks, Elena, for letting me share a little bit of my practice with everyone. I hope that this is useful. So today we're just going to begin by taking your left hand and extending it out almost like you're going to do a handshake, and look at your hand and slowly bring that hand up and turn your body. So keep your feet in place. So now you've spiraled and you're still continuing to look behind you. And now continuing to look at your hand, you're going to slowly trace that back down to the beginning where you started. And now you're going to lower your left hand and bring up your right hand. And you're going to do the same thing here. So you're looking at your hand, you're spiraling, your feet are in place to the ground, and you're slowly twisting back and looking at the hand, but also looking beyond, thinking about extending your hand out into space, and then coming back, drawing that path, continuing to look at the hand in front of you. And now you're going to bring your left hand in front and bring your hands together. Just bring them very lightly together. And bring this to your sternum, kind of in a prayer pose. And now you're going to send an intention for today, for the rest of the day, and you're going to send it out into space. So you're going to reach both hands out in front of you, and you're going to be thinking about sending out just this really powerful intention. Maybe you want to think of it as light or a wave or something like that. Ready? So you're going to slowly press your hands together and send it out. Send out that intention, and then separate your hands and bring them out wide, seeing that intention fly into the world. And I thank you very much. Actually, one more thing you can do, take those hands so they're reaching out, and then wrap them around and give yourself a big hug. Maybe just change the hands over. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I hope you have a wonderful rest of this virtual meeting. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Sam. I know we all appreciate that very much. I had to make sure to not start my video until I had stopped hugging myself. Hope you all enjoyed that. Next, I'm very excited to introduce comedian Jim Rule. Jim is Ojibwe from the Bay Mills Indian community in Michigan. He's a comedian, filmmaker, writer, and actor, a quadruple threat. In 2004, Jim was chosen by NBC's Diversity Talent Search to perform a stand-up comedy showcase in Hollywood which opened the door for his television appearances on Showtime, the BBC, Comedy Central, PBS, and now the UC San Diego Native American Heritage Month Kickoff celebration. Jim has written, performed, and produced a number of digital shorts that have appeared on YouTube, BuzzFeed, Funny or Die, and Channel 101. Over the past 5 years, Jim has worked as production coordinator for the Southern California Indian Center's Intertribal Entertainment Program, where he has produced multiple videos and a feature film called 4 Quarters. He is also a co-host of the Hollywood Indians podcast. As if that weren't enough, he recently co-founded a video production company called Frybread Productions. Please welcome Jim Rule.
Miigwech, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Elena Hood. I'm kind of in direct sunlight. Let me back up a little bit so I'm not too shiny. Not that I'm greasy, but Miigwech, Buju, Anindash, Eji Ayayan, Anishinaabe and Dao. I don't speak my language very well, so I have no idea what I just said. All right. So no, I'm Ojibwe and hi, how are ya? There you go. That's the gist of it. I hope you guys enjoyed your virtual luncheon. I'm starving. Normally I'm sleepy when I perform, but this time I'm starving. So that works for me. And I don't know if you can see I don't know if you guys like our virtual background here. That's if you've been to a powwow, you know, but this is a fancy shawl dancer. And you can actually tell that because she's wearing a shawl and it's fancy and she's dancing. So I wanted to share that bit of knowledge with you all. That's what we do. We share knowledge as Native people, whether you like it or not. No, actually, it's usually when people find out that I'm Native, I get asked all kinds of questions. And that's fine, I guess. But we get asked the same questions over and over again. So sometimes when you ask a question of us, we look really annoyed at you and you feel really bad. And then it gets awkward. And I hate it. Anyway, so I was thinking we should make some pamphlets of frequently asked questions. It's like, oh my gosh, you're Native American. I'm like, yes, but here, read this first, and we can have a normal conversation. All right, let's continue. So I hope everyone's doing okay. Pandemic is ongoing, and I don't know when it's going to end. So it's kind of like the election. Anyway. Oh my goodness. You know what I did to make myself feel better about the election today? I said, it's never going to end. And then somehow I was like, oh, okay, I guess it's just never going to end. Accept that. And I know this country is very divided, right? It's very divided politically. And it's true in our community too. A large number, from the early data that we've seen, a large number of Native Americans voted for Biden. And then also a large number voted against Trump. So it's really a mix there that we've seen. I was really surprised by that. You never know with data. So hopefully it's true. And of course, this is Native American Heritage Month. We have Thanksgiving's coming up. We call it Your Welcome Day, so it's a little different for us. But awkward. Anyway, and then we just had Halloween, so that was fun. I hope none of you went as us. That would be great. Do you guys like scary movies? I like scary movies. When I was growing up, though, they kind of confused me because they were always about like a house or something that was built on an Indian burial ground, which is scary. I get that. But if you watch them, like The Shining, if you watch The Shining the whole way through, about a resort built on one of our graveyards, there's no Indian ghosts in it. What the heck? They get relocated? You're relocating our ghosts too? Ooh, I'm sorry, you can't scare people here. Go to Oklahoma and do that. So that's kind of weird. So that was really interesting that Dr. Evan Adams was mentioning about, he said he's not athletic, but he has this amazing memory. I guess that explains why I'm kind of athletic, but I can't remember anything. Jim, go for a run. No, go run over to the store. To the what? To where? Anyway. My memory is absolutely terrible. Like, I'm really bad at memorizing names and faces, or, I could meet someone a second time and I'm like, hi there, person I think I've met maybe. And it's really come into focus with the pandemic because people are wearing masks now. And and someone recognized me from my eyes. I'm like, really? I can't even recognize you without a mask. How are you doing that? You're like, I have superpowers of recognizing people by their eyes. That scares me. And social distancing has definitely been hard. I miss being, that kind of community feel. But one thing, I've saved a lot of money on deodorant. I don't know if you guys have been still using deodorant. You really don't have to. Early on, right? Early on, people were much better, I felt, at social distancing, so you didn't really need it. Now that people are not as good at it, you really shouldn't wear it, just to let them know. If you can smell me, you're too close. I stink? Yeah, go away. That's by design. But yeah, we do get asked a lot of questions. They can be very interesting questions sometimes. One guy, he asked me whether it's true. He was really excited about it. I could tell he was like, he just couldn't wait to ask me. I was like, go ahead and ask it. It's fine. And I said, okay, is it true that you're visited by aliens on your reservations? Okay. And I'm actually really proud of this, because I actually did think of this, and I leaned in real close. I said, I'm not allowed to talk about that. So just kind of walked away while he was freaking out, like, oh, but that means we can't say. I was like, anyway, it's one of my proud moments when being asked a weird question as a native. And another one that happened when I just didn't want to deal with it. I was waiting for some friends outside a movie theater. Remember we used to do that outside? And it was a really nice day, and a butterfly landed on my arm, which was pretty cool. And there's a group of people around me, and they were equally excited. They were like, oh, that's, people were like, you could tell they were excited. And then someone asked me, oh my gosh, are you Buddhist? And without even thinking, I was like, no, I'm Native American. I was like, here it comes. And they were like, oh, yes, okay, that also makes sense. Butterflies flying around. Oh, there's one, landing. So I should mention a little bit about, I was really impressed. I didn't know all that about Dr. Adams. I knew anyway, he's a nerd. So I am too. I went to Stanford. I studied electrical engineering. It's like, I get excited when I meet other native nerds. And yet I'm athletic. No, I was kidding. Well, they're going to say, oh yeah, so my tribe, I'm Ojibwe. We're located mostly around the Pretty Good Lakes. They used to be great, but now they're polluted. Don't look it up. And my reservation is actually where we've always lived. We were never relocated because we're so tough. No, it's actually because the weather's really crappy in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So they just kind of, I'm not even kidding. It wasn't until like the Scandinavian immigrants came over that they actually moved into the area. So we're like surrounded by tall, blonde people, and Ojibwe accent is kind of like Norwegian or Swiss or something. So in case you're wondering why we talk like that, that would be why. And we also, dream catchers, that's us. So I don't know if you guys know what dream catchers work. What they do is they keep out the bad dreams, they let the good dreams go through. You hang it from your rearview mirror in case you fall asleep behind the wheel. You don't want to have a nightmare before you crash and wake up to a horrible situation. So that's that's our way of doing things. What else can I tell you about? I'm half Ojibwe, half mix of various. We're not even sure. We're not sure about my dad's side. European, but Belgian, Swiss, French, something. Netherlands. We're not sure. Rule is a common name, I guess, over there. One of my cousins tried to figure it out. But anyway, so what happened was, well, how did it happen? What happened? Was like, well, my mom was she was in love with a native guy from the res, and she was told by her auntie not that she had to break up with him, that she was being raised by her aunt at the time, that she had to break up with him, that Indian men are no good, they're drunks, and they're never gonna talk to her again. So my mom did what she was told. She broke up with him and then ended up marrying my dad, an Irish Catholic from Milwaukee, to break the cycle of alcoholism. So, I'm not sure if she really got the whole idea there, what she was supposed to do. Anyway, and actually when I was born, I was born with blonde hair. So if you can imagine a blonde baby emerging from a full-blooded native woman, it freaked everybody out. The doctor's like, oh my gosh, it's not done yet. Push it back in. It's gotta gestate a little more or something. The nurse saved me. She's like, no, it's okay. Good luck. It's like the white buffalo for these people. That's your for good luck. But that's, yeah, that can get awkward in our community sometimes, your blood.
He hit mute.
Oh no, I have a few minutes left. Okay, I don't know what happened. I got muted. Did I say something bad? All right. Okay, so anyway, so yeah, I grew up in the Midwest, grew up in Wisconsin, and now I moved to California as a comedian to pursue things out here in LA area. And I thought maybe I could do like a shampoo commercial because, you know, natives, we got our long hair. If you have a dry, flaky scalp, just throw it away. I don't know why you hold on to that. That's really creepy. Wow, tough crowd. Okay, next slide. I don't have any slides. I like that Deb Holland. I liked her presentation because she had multiple camera angles. It was like, I should have been doing that every joke. So anyway, so this joke, But anyway, when I first moved to California, they were making they're getting ready to make the first Harry Potter movie, which I was a huge Harry Potter fan, and I thought, oh man, this would be my chance to be in that. Maybe I could be like a teacher, a substitute teacher, or something. Until I found out who was directing the movie. Does anybody know who directed the first Harry Potter movie? And I'm not making this up. His name is Chris Columbus.
Oh.
Yeah, I did not want that to be my first acting gig in Hollywood. And presenting this new Native American actor discovered by Chris Columbus. My friends would make funny. Oh, Jim, I heard Chris Columbus found you. Shut up, it's not funny. So yeah, but yeah, I mentioned I went to college for electrical engineering. Initially I wanted to invent an Indian time machine that just sends you back 15 minutes. So, hey, I'm on time. Anyway, we're late in case you're wondering. I know there's a lot of non-natives watching. It's like, oh, is that like people calling time? Okay. Lastly, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my family. My wife, well, we're not married, but we've lived together now for 13 years. She's Mexican American. Figured that was close enough. No, but actually, when we decided to have kids, and she got pregnant, and it was kind of just like, okay, you know, our baby's going to be bilingual. Just letting you know that. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. She could learn my tribal language. Oh, that's right. You guys have languages too. Like, yeah, we kind of do. But she was very cool about it. She actually went on one of the Ojibwe language programs and ordered a language kit, which came in a nice birch bark basket, very cool. Had Ojibwe language in it, some refrigerator magnets, some other cool stuff. And she didn't even tell me about it. I just came home from work one day and she surprised me. She's like, Jim, our baby's going to be trilingual. And I was like, oh crap, now I got to learn my language. I was just kidding. Because it's really, my sister's learned our language. She's studied it in college, and then she teaches the immersion language in the Twin Cities. But she explained to me Ojibwe is actually one of the 3 hardest languages in the world, based on the various verb forms and stuff. Like, for example, this is how you say goodbye in Ojibwe. It's just not easy. Giga waba min minawa. Yeah, and I hate long goodbyes. So, but it sounds like something Jabba the Hutt would say, right? Giga waba min minawa ho 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 solo. The Honorable Jabba says goodbye. And that about wraps up my time. So thank you guys very much for inviting me to come and share some jokes for you all. I appreciate you all turning in, and maybe you can come see me perform live someday, or I could come to the campus and perform live. And I also want to do a quick land acknowledgement to the tribes of the area, the Liseño, Kuya, Copeño, and Kumeyaay. So let's recognize the local Native people, because this is not my traditional area. So big witch.
All right, thank you very much, Jim. We definitely needed a good laugh. And for all of the friendly text messages that I got telling us that our mics were on, that was on purpose. We didn't want Jim to feel lonely, but thank you for the heads up. And Jim, we can't wait to invite you back for live performance on campus. Thank you. Next, we are excited to introduce a new honor for one of our native Tritons. We wanted to recognize a student who is seen as a role model and who demonstrates leadership and a commitment to the Native American community. We asked our native Tritons to nominate one of their peers, and today we are proud to introduce the outstanding native Triton, Sam Lucero. He has been instrumental in the development of our Native American community at UC San Diego. Among his many contributions, he has worked as a student assistant in the Intertribal Resource Center, served as a co-chair for the Native American Student Alliance, and had an integral role in the creation of the Kumeyaay Garden Project. Here's a sample of the things his peers shared about Sam in their nominations. Sam always shows care for other people and the Native community. Sam is kind, professional, funny, and brings together groups of people with his passion. Sam has dedicated a lot of time to the Native community at UCSD, and his smile and energy are never lacking, especially at events like the NOM Luncheon and the annual powwow. Sam practices what he preaches and moves through life with love and morality guiding the way. He is constantly thinking of ways to better the Native American community at UCSD. In Indian country, it's very common to gift an honoree with a Pendleton blanket. Many folks are unaware that Pendleton is a non-Native company that capitalizes on Native-inspired designs rather than actual Native American artwork protected by the Native American Arts and Crafts Act of 1990. We have gifted Sam with an 8th generation blanket instead. 8th Generation is a Native-owned business providing an ethical alternative to Native-inspired art and products and addressing the economic impact of cultural appropriation through its focus on Native American artists and a commitment to offering 100% Native-designed products. And it's a much better way to honor our 2020 outstanding Native Triton. I'm proud to introduce you to Sam Lucero.
Hi everyone, I'd like to start this off by saying thank you to the Intertribal Resource Center, the Non-Planning Committee, and to my peers for nominating me to be this year's Outstanding Native Triton. My name is Samuel Lucero, and I am from Taos Pueblo in northern New Mexico. I am a 4th year Revelle College student majoring in clinical psychology and minoring in cognitive science. I've been involved with the Native campus community since my first year at UCSD, and I've met so many wonderful people along the way. I've been a co-chair for NASA, I've helped plan NOM events like this one, and I've helped to plan powwow. So on top of school and work, it's definitely kept me very busy over the past 4 years. But it's also very rewarding to be able to work towards building and maintaining a safe and welcoming community where we can all be unapologetically Native. I'm forever grateful to this community for helping me reconnect and be comfortable with my Native identity. And I hope that other students are able to get as much out of this community as I have. So thank you again for the nomination, and thank you as well for giving me the opportunity to express myself in this way. I'm truly honored, and I hope to continue to live up to this model.
Thank you very much, Sam. We admire your leadership and commitment to the community. Next, I would like to introduce Vice Chancellor Becky Pettit from the Office for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. EDI is the primary sponsor for all of the campus-wide cultural celebrations like Native American Heritage Month. She is joining us to share about the work of the Office for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion and their commitment to diversity and community engagement. VC Pettit joined UC San Diego in March 2015 and brings over 25 years of progressive administrative experience in equity, diversity, and inclusion work. VC Pettit earned her master's degree and doctorate from Texas A&M University, where prior to coming to UC San Diego, she also served as the Associate Vice President and Chief of Staff for the Office of Diversity. VC Pettit is a nationally recognized consultant specializing in equity and diversity in higher education, organizational learning, and organizational change. Her influence extends across the academy and well beyond. Please welcome Vice Chancellor Becky Pettit.
Thank you, Dr. Hood. Congratulations, Sam. And thank you everyone for joining us today for the kickoff of our 14th annual Native American Heritage Month, as we celebrate the lives, culture, history, and significant contributions of our Native American community. We not only acknowledge their cherished legacies, but we honor the ways our Native American community members continue to lead us, inspire us, and shape our future. The mission of my office is to provide leadership, build capacity, and forge partnerships to create a diverse, equitable, and inclusive campus in which all students, faculty, and staff can thrive. Our newly established strategic plan for inclusive excellence guides our efforts and holds us all accountable for achieving our shared goals. Dr. Elena Hood, director of our Intertribal Resource Center, is a valued member of our team who ensures that we honor and engage our campus and local Native American community in all of our strategic efforts. I thank Dr. Hood and the rest of our team for helping to plan a wonderful kickoff celebration in this virtual environment. Please make time to participate in the various celebrations and educational events throughout the month. Continue joining us in honoring the heritage, rich contributions, and leadership of our Native American community. Thank you for this time, Dr. Hood. I turn this back over to you now.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor Pettit. And thank you for your support of our campus diversity programs like Native American Heritage Month. We've reached the end of our program today. We're very pleased that you chose to spend the afternoon with us and hope you enjoyed our first virtual kickoff celebration. Thank you for celebrating Native American Heritage Month with us. Remember, we have a full calendar of events throughout November. And of course, we celebrate Native American Heritage Month throughout the year. So make sure to keep up with the Intertribal Resource Center on social media and through our newsletter. We hope that you visit our website on Blink for a list of Native American Heritage Month events, or visit us at itrc.ucsd.edu. Before we say goodbye, I would like to acknowledge our Native American Heritage Month Planning Committee and our incredible behind-the-scenes crew that made this event possible. We'd also like to recognize and give a special thanks to Chancellor Khosla, Vice Chancellor Becky Pettit, Alexandria Hunter, Taylor Begay, Congresswoman Deborah Ann Holland, Dr. Evan Adams, Sam Mitchell, Jim Rule, our talented EDI Special Events team, our non-planning committee, and finally, we recognize and honor the tribal leaders and community members that have joined us today. Noshbun Lovik, P. Polovitamet Noli. Thank you all for being here. See you soon.